again, my lovelies, and welcome back to my channel. Grab yourself something to drink, grab yourself a snack, lean back and relax. And without further ado, why don't we go and start on the next chapter of Avatar: The Legends of Percy, Trial by Fire, written by WardofWinters. Chapter 19. I ruin a perfectly good bus. It didn't take me long to pack. Carl wished me luck as I gathered what I needed, then gave some extra quest advice. Stuff like avoid spas and pack an extra toothbrush and double check your weapons and watch out for people offering to help cause there's always a catch. I found that a bit strange. Obviously there would be trades for assistance and that was just business. Triton would help me without that. He was my friend/brother, and Lord D had been nice. Mostly. Most sea gods would help others if it was beneficial to them. I wasn't sure why I was warned not to take the gods as assistants. If I could have Triton's aid right now. I stared at the rainbow stone longingly. I wanted to call Triton, but I didn't know if that would make things worse. He said to wait. I left the rainbow stone where it was and moved my medical kit into the bottom of my bag, then added any of the other things I had that could be useful. The armor, a few changes of clothes, the storm-calming stone, and my ocarina. I strapped my knife to my side and hooked my water skin over my shoulder. I was pretty sure that was all I needed by that point, so I headed off to the Aphrodite cabin. I informed them of my quest, but apparently they'd already heard of it. Selena agreed to feed Carl while I was gone, so he would be okay. I was about to leave when Mitchell stepped forward with a braided hair tie held in his hand. A dove charm hung off the end. "For good luck," he explained. "The Aphrodite cabin stands with you." Selena tied my hair up again using the new hair tie. She gave me a hug and made me promise to come back safely while Lacey wished me luck and Drew told me not to mess up. I beamed, feeling warm. They'd quickly become like a family to me, and it meant so much that they were supporting me like that. It made me more determined I would succeed. For them, for my mom, for all of the people of the sea. I had to leave, but I gave Drew and Selena one more hug first. Then I headed off to the Demeter cabin. Katie tucked me in when I arrived, and the cabin quickly checked to make sure I was ready for my quest. Apparently, Katie heard about it through the grapevine, so the cabin was all set for it. News spread fast at camp. Miranda was the one to hand me a good luck charm for the quest, a carved pine pendant shaped like a scallop shell. Unlike the one from Aphrodite, this one had a carving on it in ancient Greek. "Take care, take heart, take honor, and your journey shall give you success." It felt like sunshine and safety and brought me comfort as I slipped it over my head. Imani stepped forward with 3 seed packets that tasted like warm bread, a determined look in her eyes as she explained what they were. Katie, Darius, and Suki had apparently worked together to make the packets. They'd been experimenting with making seeds that had enhanced growth so it took less energy for them to summon plants, and these were the results. There were 3. 1 set of trumpet vines, which grew the fastest and tangled like crazy. 1 set of manchineel. Don't touch those trees if you want to live, they're super dangerous. And 1 set of hogweed. Oh fuck. Don't touch those if it was daytime, because that would end badly. All 3 sets would grow quickly as soon as there was sunlight and moisture. It was amazing. The seeds seemed really useful, and it was super sweet of the cabin to give me them. I hugged Katie and thanked them all of them profusely, but then I had to leave. I had 2 more stops to make before I reached the hill. Hestia smiled at me when I reached her hearth. "I have a quest now," I said. "Thank you for granting me shelter at your hearth." "You're always welcome to sit with me, Perseus Jackson. Good luck on your quest, and remember, the hearth is always within you. Hypiaine." I twisted my hand in a sign of thanks and turned away. The camp store lent me $100 in mortal money and 20 drachmas. It was a good thing I had my stash of money in my bag, because the money from the camp was barely any. I'd probably have to supplement it with my own money, though I didn't want to. We also received a canteen of nectar and a Ziploc bag full of ambrosia squares, to only be used in emergencies. It was godly food and could be lethal in high amounts. I found Annabeth and Grover near the base of the hill. Annabeth was holding her magic Yankees hat, a 12th birthday gift from her mom, and a book on famous classical architecture. I could see her bronze knife tucked under her long sleeve. She was also wearing a bracelet that wasn't there before, words carved in ancient Greek on it, though I couldn't make out what they said. Grover waved as I joined them, wearing his fake feet and pants and holding his forearm crutches, so he could pass as human. He had a cap on his head and a bright orange backpack filled with scrap metal and apples, and apparently most of our food supply. Around his neck hung his reed pipes, his daddy goat, who he'd never met but left them for him, carved for him. Grover knew a variety of songs that would let him do magic. He'd learned a lot during music club this year, and I agreed that he'd definitely learned a lot. He was way better than what he used to be. Chiron was waiting for us at the top of the hill in his wheelchair. Next to him was Argus, the guy with loads of eyes.
"This is Argus,"
Chiron told me unhelpfully.
"He'll drive you into the city and, well, keep an eye on things."
I heard footsteps behind us and turned to see Luke running up. He held something in his hands.
"Hey!" he panted. Glad I caught you."
Annabeth blushed, as usual for being around Luke.
"I just wanted to say good luck,"
Luke told me as he approached. The shifting sands made their appearance again. Why did he feel like that titan from my dreams?
"And I thought maybe you could use these."
He handed me the shoes, which despite looking normal had a strange mixture of sensations on them. Tickling feathers, incense taste, itching curse, shifting sands. They were enchanted? Cursed? Some weird combination like the tree that was Talia? Something else entirely? I hated not knowing what my senses meant. It was so confusing how the same sensation seemed to have multiple meanings. Luke said, "Maya!" White bird wings sprouted from the heels, startling me so much I dropped them. Knowing they were magic and having them sprout wings were definitely two different things. But flying shoes were very cool. "Awesome!" Grover said. Luke smiled. "Those served me well when I was on my quest. A gift from Dad. Of course, I don't use them much these days." His expression turned sad. I flushed. This was super nice of him. He was going out of his way to help us and even gave me an incredibly valuable gift. It was really cool of him. "Hey, thanks."
"Listen, Percy." Luke looked uncomfortable. A lot of hopes are riding on you, so just kill some monsters for me, okay?"
I nodded. We shook hands. He patted Grover on the head and gave a goodbye hug to Annabeth. "You're hyperventilating," I said helpfully when Luke was gone. "You should try to count your breaths." "I am not!" she snapped before she turned and headed to the SUV. I shrugged and picked up the shoes from where they've dropped. Something occurred to me. I won't be able to use these. They go in the sky.
Chiron nodded. "Luke meant well, Percy, but taking to the air, that would not be wise for you." I nodded, not surprised but a bit disappointed. I didn't need flying shoes. I had my gifts from the sea, so I'd be fine. But they were really cool, and a gift, and I didn't want to just let them go to waste. Huh. Hey, Grover, do you want the magic item? His eyes lit up. Me? I nodded and he beamed. I helped him adjust the shoes, putting his styrofoam inserts and lacing them up. Maya! He shouted gleefully. He got off the ground just fine and promptly fell over as the winged shoes started dragging him off. Practice! Chiron called after him. You just need practice! Blah! Grover yelled in response as he was dragged to the van. I stared after him, grinning at the sight, but Chiron caught my arm, a familiar current drifting from him. I should have trained you better, Percy, he said. If only I had more time. Heracles, Jason, they all got more training. It's fine, I said. Wasn't like he was making me do this or anything. Oh, wait. What am I thinking? Chiron cried. I can't let you get away without this. He pulled a pen from his coat pocket and handed it to me. My eyes widened. It was the sword pen. I could tell immediately. That was what the current was, hidden beneath all the electricity over my skin. Percy, that's a gift from your father. I've kept it for years, not knowing you were the one I was waiting for. But the prophecy is clear to me now. You are the one. My eye twitched. He was the one that forced me to give it back to him before when I told him that it was mine. And why would my Metua give me a sword made of another being's essence? Were they dead? Did something else happen? Triton told me that a sea being's essence was extremely valuable. It was basically their immortality. To give it a form like this was to compress their power into a state. Of course, it no only really risked their immortality if they were a nymph or a naiad, but still, for me to have this? I could only assume the original owner must have passed. There was no way Poseidon would let another use it otherwise. I still wanted to talk to my Metua before I used it, though, just in case. I nodded to Chiron, clutching the sword that was a pen tightly. I wasn't going to thank him for giving me back something he took. It is named Anaklusmos. I believe you know it's the same sword as the one in that museum that you kept so long. I pursed my lips. The sword has a long and tragic history that we need not go into. It is to be used only for emergencies and only against monsters, Chiron said. No hero should harm a mortal unless absolutely necessary. Though of course, this sword wouldn't be able to harm any mortal anyways. Not like your knife. His gaze flicked to the knife at my side. Abyssal platinum was more than able to harm a mortal, unlike celestial bronze and imperial gold. Those were the only two immortal metals unable to affect mortals according to Triton. They were outliers and used to be mixed with other metals for when battles were against mortals. In the modern day, Triton said that they were used alone so that mortals wouldn't be able to see them. Chiron seemed wary of my knife, which was fair. I was careful about using it for a reason. Abyssal platinums was a magic metal after all, and its power wasn't to be underestimated. I nodded to Chiron again, though. I'll take care of Anaklusmos. You won't have the risk of losing it, he assured. It will always reappear in your pocket. I nodded, studying the feeling coming off of it. I would have to learn how to recognize the enchantments on things. Maybe Triton could help with that. Chiron sighed. I believe you know more than you've told us, but I will allow you to hold your secrets. Good, because I wouldn't have told you anyways. Stay safe, Percy. I wish you the best of luck on your quest. I swallowed, feeling the weight of this quest on my shoulders. I was only 12 and I'd be leaving. No adults, no one that I really knew, no backup. I would be alone except for a girl that didn't like me and a satyr that lied to me for a year. I can do this, I mumbled to myself, tucking the sword away.
Relax, Percy,
Chiron told me.
Keep a clear head, and remember, you may be about to prevent the biggest war in human history.
So reassuring, thank you so much for that. Relaxed. Totally. I started down the hill and only looked back when I reached the bottom. The electricity on my skin was fading for the first time since I arrived at the camp. It was a relief. Chiron stood beneath the oak tree that was Talia. He was in full centaur form and held his bow high in a salute. I turned back and got in the van. Argus drove us out of the countryside and into western Long Island. It was actually kind of weird to be on the highway again after being in camp for 2 weeks. Annabeth and Grover were beside me, and it was like a normal carpool. If I hadn't grown up going back and forth between the sea and the land, then I probably would have found it even stranger. I leaned back, watching the signs pass by for a bit. My eye caught on Annabeth's bracelet as she flipped a page of her book. Is your bracelet from your cabin? I asked Annabeth. She shot me an annoyed look. Yes, not that it's any of your business. I sighed. Remind me again. Why do you hate me so much? I don't hate you. I raised an eyebrow. Could have fooled me. She closed her book. Look, we're not supposed to get along, okay? Our parents are rivals. Because of the Athens contest? That was one of the big ones. People in the sea were still bitter about that, and the curse Metua put on Athens when he lost is still considered one of the great sea curses. Of course, there was also the incident with Pallas. That's just one thing. But yeah, your dad lost the contest with that dumb saltwater spring when my mom made an olive tree. Then he cursed the city 'cause he's a sore loser. And that's not even mentioning the time your dad got with someone in my mom's temple. Okay, the temple thing is Roman. Like, what are we, Italians? I demanded. And what about the time your mom killed Triton's daughter? Metua had his share of conflicts with Athena, but not all of them were on him. Athena gave as good as she got. I might not have known the full story of Pallas' death, but the entire sea knew that Athena was the one who killed her. Annabeth scowled, and I felt Grover cringing away from us. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself. This wasn't the time to debate our family history. We had a quest to focus on. We didn't need to hold up our parents' grudges either. That wasn't our battle. Annabeth opened her mouth, ready to respond, but I cut her off. And though our parents have grudges, we didn't cause the problems. We don't have to uphold their grudges between us. She closed her mouth and turned away, a frown on her face. Grover studied the seat in front of him, humming softly as it started raining. The rest of the ride was quiet, and I spent my time watching the buildings pass and fiddling with my bracelet. Part of my mind lingered on the conflict between Athena and Poseidon. Argus dropped us off at the Greyhound station in the Upper East Side, not far from my apartment, or my old one, I guess. Taped to a mailbox was a soggy flyer with my picture on it. Have you seen this boy? I ripped it down before Annabeth or Grover could see. Argus unloaded our bags from the back, and I slung my bag on the back, my back over my water skin. He made sure we also grabbed our bus tickets and left. Well, not much adult supervision. I glanced down the street towards my old apartment. We were less than 3 blocks away. If it were any normal day, Mom would be there, work would be over, and we would have a nice dinner and... Gabe would be there too, mind you, but if dealing with him meant having my mom back, I felt a flash of rage. Gabe probably didn't even care. Of course he didn't. He'd never cared. I hated him. You wanna know why she married him, Percy? Grover asked, looking down the street in the same direction as me as he shouldered his backpack. I stared at him. How did he? Oh, yeah. Triton said he could read emotions. Forgot about that. Reading my emotions? He nodded. You were thinking about your mom and stepdad, right? I nodded. Your mom married Gabe for you, Grover told me. You call him smelly, but you have no idea. The guy has this aura. Yeah, I can smell him from here. I could smell him on you almost the entire first semester of Yancey and again almost the entire second semester. The scent is still clinging to you a bit from you going home. I blinked. That explained a lot. My mom stayed with that horrible, nasty excuse of a human for me. No wonder I was so hidden. Any godly scent that wasn't covered by my inherent protection or my youth would be covered by his disgusting scent. On the other hand, where's the nearest shower? I didn't want to smell anything like him. You should be grateful, Percy. Your stepfather smells so repulsively human, he could mask the presence of any demigod. As soon as I took a whiff inside his Camaro, I knew. Gabe has been covering your scent for years. If you hadn't lived with him, you probably would have been found by monsters a long time ago. Your mom stayed with him to protect you. She was a smart lady. She must have loved you a lot to put up with that guy, if that makes you feel any better. I frowned. I didn't. It didn't, and it was also inaccurate. Not entirely, but they seem to not understand how protection for demigods work. Sure, the scent of him might have thrown them off, but it wasn't just the scent. Grover, it's not just the scent. He frowned at me. What? Annabeth was watching me too now. I pursed my lips. There's a protection. It's inherent in all children, especially half-blood children. It has some to do with scent, sure, but that's not the majority of it. I've never really been attacked by terrors before this year, even though I've seen multiple, and I had at least one as a teacher before Mrs. Dotts. Annabeth frowned. That doesn't make sense. If they got close enough for you to see them, then they should have caught your scent. That's what. I ran a hand through my blue hair, ignoring the look some people were giving me. That's what I'm saying. Children are safe. Terrors can't. They can't target children. Until they're like 4, I think. I don't know, but there's an automatic protection that being an infant gives you against targeted attacks. Then, like, you're protected further if you're a kid. Of course you would be, Annabeth cried. You're 4. I nodded. Right. But do the ones responsible for you consider you such? Your parents, mortals or immortal? Do they see you as a child? As someone that relies on them? Do they wish to protect you and see you as needing that protection? She blinked. It's really complicated and I don't understand all of it, but you're basically safe if your parents or guardians consider you a child. Or well, if they offer you the protection of being their kid. Your parents' protection shields you. So yeah, Gabe's nasty scent may have helped, but it's mainly the fact that my mom wanted to protect me and did everything she could to do so. The Minotaur might have charged me when it first came, but it only outright attacked when my mom vanished. They both stared. Wait, Grover said. Then how did it find you? I pursed my lips. My best guess? It was following you. His eyes widened. It couldn't attack me directly or be ordered after me directly, but if it's ordered after someone with me, and I just happen to be in the way, that's free game. He looked horrified. If it wasn't you, it would have been my mom probably. Regardless, Gabe isn't the reason I was hidden for that long. It's my mom. Annabeth seemed to be thinking hard as I started walking in and led our group to sit near where the bus would pull up. So, she said, where did you learn this? My brother. Grover choked and Annabeth recoiled. Poseidon has another child? I blinked. Yeah? He has quite a few. Where is he? How old is he? Oh, this is bad. Annabeth started pacing. I idly rubbed my arms as a faint itch crawled over my skin. You already know about him. I don't know, he's a few thousand years old. I assume he's in the ocean? She blinked at me. What? My brother? Triton? There was a long beat of silence. Triton! The gods of tides! Taught you? Well, yeah. Though I didn't know he was my brother till I was claimed last week. I watched as both of them seemed to struggle to wrap their minds around that. Oh, look, I said as the bus pulled up. Our bus is here. We stood in line to board. The two still trying to process the fact that I knew Triton. I didn't get why they found it so strange. He was my brother, and he watched out for me. Wasn't that normal? My arms started itching more and I rubbed them. Was that from Grover's shoes or something else? I glanced at Grover, but he just looked confused and worried. I rubbed my arms as the itching got worse, frowning as a faint buzz nudged me. It was our turn to board the bus. We went all the way to the back and I kept my backpack in my lap. I'd packed a few scrolls to review during the bus ride on the quest, and I wanted to look over one of the healing scrolls. The other two stowed in their bags, and I tried to ignore the itching buzz. What was that? It was getting stronger? I was just digging through my bag to find the scroll when Annabeth clammed her hand on my knee. Percy! I looked up and froze. Oh, that was why what the itching buzz was. I'd forgotten. It'd been months since I felt that. An old lady had just boarded the bus. She wore a crumpled velvet dress, lace gloves, and a shapeless orange knit hat that shadowed her face. She also carried a big paisley purse. Just looking at it made my head buzz. She tilted her head up. Her black eyes glittered. Mrs. Dutz. I shoved at the buzzing, like how I had on the one person I freed from Agiain. I caught a glimpse of leathery black, and then the old lady was back, along with the buzzing. I sunk down in my seat and closed my bag again, right as two more old ladies came on, one in a green hat and one in a purple hat. Triplet demon grandmothers. Yay! They sat in the front row, right behind the driver. The two on the aisle crossed their legs over the walkway, making an X. Casual enough that no one would think twice about it, but it was a clearly sent message to us. Nobody leaves. The bus pulled away right then, and I grimaced, not even out of the city before being attacked. I didn't expect that. Surely Hades would want us to reach him. Or did he not know that we were headed towards him? She's back already! Annabeth hissed. All three of them, Grover whimpered. Apotheos. I blinked. Oh yeah, I knew that Miss Dutz was back because of the dream, but they didn't. Was it not normal for them to be back so fast? Triton never covered them coming back to life. It's okay, Annabeth muttered. No problem, not at all. We can, Right. It's okay, I said. They can't really attack us in front of all these people, can they? No monster attack on me had been in front of people. The monsters always led me away from people to attack me. Mortals don't have good eyes. Their brains can only process what they see through the mist. I frowned. The mist. Chiron mentioned that once. Was it whatever keeps everyone from seeing things? I wish there was some sort of orientation book. Hadn't Chiron mentioned an orientation film? This isn't the problem, Annabeth quickly added. We can just slip out the windows. They don't open, Grover moaned. I pulled my backpack onto my back, opening my water skin. A back exit? She suggested. There isn't one, I said, with a quick glance behind us. Maybe we can take an emergency exit on the roof. We hit the Lincoln Tunnel and the bus went dark except for the running lights down the aisles. It had gone strangely quiet without the rain. I stared at the roof for a second, then turned to Annabeth, who was gritting her teeth. Miss Dutz and her siblings stood. Miss Dutz spoke in a flat voice to the whole bus. I need to use the restroom. So do I, said the second sister. So do I, said the third sister. They all started coming down the aisle, as if that didn't sound maturely suspicious. I've got it, Annabeth said. Percy, take my hat. What? You're the one they want. Turn invisible and let them pass you. Maybe you can get to the front and escape. But there's an outside chance they might not notice us, Annabeth said. You're a son of one of the big three. Your scent might be overpowering. I frowned. I doubted it if Annabeth was in danger, as many years as she seemed to have been. Then she'd have the stronger scent. Triton was still protecting me after all. Even if it wasn't much, his protection still meant something compared to Annabeth, who had nothing. I can't leave you. Don't worry about us, Grover insisted. Go! I bit my lip, but took the cap and put it on. It was a weird feeling to be draped in the invisibility, like olive oil over my skin. Everything I had on me also turned invisible. I wondered how that worked, but forced myself to focus on the situation. I started creeping up the aisle and managed to get up 10 rows before I had to duck into an empty seat to avoid the Agiains walking past. Miss Dutz faltered for a moment and sniffed the air, but she shook her head, apparently not smelling anything. Did the olive field also smell of olive oil to terrors? I was free. I made it to the front and was about to hit the emergency stop button when I felt the buzzing twist oddly, like it had simultaneously disappeared and also multiplied. I heard a hideous wailing from the back. I spun around to see that the Agiains had revealed their true form. Their backs changed to fiery whips, their bodies shriveled to leathery brown hag bodies with bat wings, and hands and feet like gargoyle claws. Their eyes blazed like hellfire and were clear even from where I stood. The Agiains surrounded Grover and Annabeth. They lashed their whips and hissed, Where is it? Where? Ha! They were looking for an item. I knew Hades had something stolen. The other people on the bus were screaming. Some fled towards the front of the bus, but most cowered in their seats. They could see something, all right. He's not here! Annabeth yelled. He's gone! I flicked my wrist as I opened my water skin and shaped the water to form a rope of spiraling water. The Agiains raised their whips. Annabeth drew her bronze knife. Grover grabbed a tin can from his snack bag and prepared to throw it. I snapped my water out, letting it whirl around the air to coat Mrs. Dutz's whip, then pulled. She shrieked, stumbling back. What's going on back there? Called the bus driver, trying to look back without looking away from the road. The bus was driving a little crazier now. Who? Miss Dots cried. I hardened the water and froze it along with the whip, then shattered it. The whip fell to pieces in the ice. She spun around as I pulled off the hat. Hello, I called, which was probably the cause of the bus driver screaming and yanking the wheel. We almost crashed, and I just barely managed to stay standing by freezing my feet to the ground. The Agiain snarled as they tumbled over themselves thanks to the driver's panicked driving. We came out of the tunnel a second later, and the driver aimed for an exit immediately. What's going on? He cried, turning to gape at the situation now that we're headed right for the river. I got a genius idea. I hit the emergency brake. The Agiain had been stumbling to their feet, finally adjusted to the driver's horrible driving. He should retake the licensing exam. Now they crashed into the windows, sprawled helplessly. The bus spun to a stop, and by that I meant it crashed into some trees. But it stopped. The emergency lights came on and everyone fled. The bus driver was the first off. Miss Dots and her siblings finally got their footing, and Miss Dots stalked towards me. The other two Agiain leapt onto the tops of the seats and started crawling towards me. Perseus Jackson, Miss Dots said in an accent from the south. You have offended the gods. You shall die. I blinked. But don't you only serve Lord Hades? Why would it matter if I offend other gods? She snarled. We are the enforcers. Also, I'm glad you didn't die. I would have been bad since you have an important job, I think. I'm not an expert on the underworld. She stared blankly. Were you looking for something? You made a comment about it before and just now too. Her gaze hardened. Okay, so I shouldn't bring up the missing item in the future. Got it. Submit now, she snapped, and you will not suffer eternal torment. I raised my hands. Sorry, I still don't know what I did. Annabeth tackled Mrs. Dots from behind. I suppose that my diplomacy attempt wasn't going great anyways. She stabbed Miss Dots in the neck with her knife as Miss Dots cried out in fury. See what I did there? And exploded into dust. I summoned my trident and raised my other hand to pull more water from my water skin. I swiped my hand to freeze it into a dozen ice shards and sent them flying at one Agiain as I lunged for the other with my trident. Grover leapt forward and ripped the whip from the ice shard but the one I attacked snapped her whip around my trident. She yanked, and I shoved. My arms strained, and I managed to shove the trident forward into her shoulder. She shrieked as she fell back, landing neatly on Annabeth's knife as she came to support me. The Agiain exploded into dust. Grover tied the final Agiain's legs up in its whip. She snarled as she laid on the floor. Zeus will destroy you! She promised. Hades will have your soul! Afistetus no dokimasun! I snapped back, getting really annoyed with these nonsense accusations. Annabeth drove her knife through the final Agiain's neck. Thunder shook the bus. Electricity scorched my skin in a dangerously familiar way. Get out! I called. No! Annabeth cried, grabbing Grover's arms. We rushed outside and found the other passengers wandering around in a daze. Quite a few were running around in circles yelling, We're gonna die! I twisted the trident back into its charm just as a flash went off from the tourist's camera. Our backs! Grover realized. We left our... The windows of the bus exploded as the passengers ran for cover. Lightning shredded a huge crater in the roof. My ears rang and my skin was blazing. We need to get out of here! Annabeth cried. That definitely attracted attention. Let's go! She grabbed our arms and I hissed in pain as she tugged us into the woods. The sky above us opened and rain poured down to add to the mood. It was a small mercy on my skin. Triton's point of view. We settled into the dining area of Okeanos' palace. It wasn't often we went to his actual palace to meet him. We usually just met up during festivals, and official meals at each other's palace were always a bit tense. He hadn't shown up yet, nor had Thetis, so we were stuck sitting, Metu and I taking care to avoid Mefu's eyes. I was still annoyed that Mefu lectured me over Percy. I hadn't expected that. Apparently, Ike should have informed her so that she could figure out how to deal with the situation. I huffed. I didn't know why she was upset with me. Metu was the one that told no one about his kid. I just made sure Percy was safe and raised properly. Metu was preparing to deal with the backlash, getting the different sea kingdoms to hear us out as to why Metu told no one and all that. Metu was in trouble. I couldn't help being smug about that. Even if I was in trouble too, that bit was entirely unfair. I jolted out of my thoughts when Okeanos swept in, Thetis with him. They settled comfortably in their spots at the end of the table and the food appeared. Okeanos watched us with a gleam in his eyes as we exchanged polite greetings. He started up a conversation with Mefu over the ever-present argument between Nammu, ruler of the Arabian Sea, and Nanmu, ruler of the earth and trees of the area around the Black Sea. Apparently, Tefnut, ruler of the Red Sea, sent them both letters and mixed up their names. The two were pissed off again. They always got pissed off when people mixed them up. I shook my head. Tefnut definitely did that on purpose. She delighted in causing trouble between them. Not that I could truly blame her. Their reactions were always spectacular. It looked like the next meeting with them would be interesting at least. Dinner continued with Okeanos and Mevu conversing. Metu chimed in from occasion but was primarily focused on watching our surroundings. He was always rather tense in Okeanos' territory. Thetis started up a conversation with me about how the most recent pollution counter policies were working, which was not well, unfortunately. We discussed what we could do to improve them, something we'd been working on a lot due to the oil spills. The Deepwater Horizon one was unfortunately not alone, and though most of our focus was on that one, there were multiple smaller ones that were still had to handle in the meantime. Dinner went fast. When we finished, Okeanos led us to one of his sitting rooms and we settled in with Taipanu. Now then, to the reason I asked to meet with you. Poseidon nodded. Yes, Phoebe made it sound important. What seems to be the issue? Okeanos smiled. I would like to adopt your son. What a wonderful cliffhanger that was! Why don't we just go immediately to the Halmaharan so you can hopefully wait for the next chapter for next week? Of course, we have Percy, which is the Halmaharan pronunciation of Percy, Metua for father, Metu for dad, and Mevu for mom. There wasn't a lot of terminology, but we have the charms that were gifted as a sort of going away present and prayers that have occurred in ancient times for jobs and journeys and quests attached to them. Trumpet vine is a vine that grows really quickly and is quite difficult to get rid of. A manchineel tree, also known as Little Apple of Death, is one of the most toxic trees in the world. And hogweed, which is an invasive plant which can cause painful burns and permanent scarring. Even touching them will cause that. They are native to my home. Well, at least not in America they are native, but I am from Switzerland, so we actually have been working to eradicate hogweeds and have to report if we find them near waterways. They are an alpine plant, which is why they grow quite well in different territory as well. We have Hypiaine, which is an ancient Greek phrase of parting, basically a goodbye. Then the phonetic spelling of Chiron for Chiron. We have Pallas, who is a unfortunately deceased daughter of Triton. We have Apotheos Theos by the gods in Greek. The Erinyes, which is the original name of the Furies. And we have Aphistetos Nadokimasun, which means let them try in Greek. Without further ado, I hope you had a nice time so far. Grab yourself something to drink again. Don't forget to check out the links in the description to Ward of Winters, Discord, Tumblr, and original AO free web link. Give them all the kudos they deserve if you haven't done that already. And with that, I say you have a good week and I hope everything goes to plan. Bye bye!